Okay, this is actually a two-part video. So what I want you to do is think of it as in two parts. So we're going to talk about domain and range first, and then we're going to go into telling whether something is a function or not. All right, so for domain and range, the first thing you should think of when you see domain and range is doxray. Okay, I'm going to say it over and over and over and over. Doxray, doxray, doxray. That helps you because the DO stands for domain, and those are your X values. The RA stands for range, and those are your Y values. Okay, so here's a couple different ways that they could ask you. They could say state the domain and range for, and they could give you a set of numbers. Okay, so what you need to do is immediately write domain equals range equals. Now these are sets of numbers. These are just a list of numbers. So for lists of numbers, we use our curly brackets or our mustaches is what I call them. And yours might be ugly at first, but they'll get better throughout time, I promise you. All right, so once again, doxray. So my domain are my X values. So I'm going to go ahead and just highlight all my X values. Remember, for a coordinate pair, it goes X, Y. Right? All right, so my X values, usually we put them in order from least to greatest. So my smallest X value is -2. Then we have 1, 8, and 10. Okay? Now, if you did not put them in order from least to greatest, it's not wrong, but it just ain't right. Okay, so make sure you're going least to greatest. All right, my range are my Y values. Highlight my Y values. Okay, so I go from least to greatest. My smallest number is -6. Then I've got 3, 4, and 7. So those are my domain and range. Another way they could ask us is from a table. Okay, so let's say state, domain, and range for okay. So once again, we write doxray. So the domain values are my X, or the domain is my X values. So actually, before I do that, I'm going to write domain equals mustache. Highlight all of my X values. Okay, and then I go from least to greatest. -6 is my smallest number. Then I've got -4, 0, and then 3. Okay. Range are my Y values. So range equals okay, my smallest value is -4, -1, 0, sorry, I don't know why that little, okay, 0, and 8. That's it. Remember, you're going to use curly brackets, those mustaches, because these are separate numbers, not an ordered pair. Ordered pair, we use parentheses. Okay, so that's my domain and range. All right, this is the second part of the video, telling whether something is a function or not. So just write function or not. Okay, so there's a couple different ways that they can show us or ask us if it's a function or not. The biggest thing is every X has only one Y. every x has only one y. So what that tells us is we are going to highlight all x values if the x value repeats and has a different y value. Oh, repeats. I don't know. And has a different y value. It is not a function. Okay, so every x can only have one y. So let's do a couple examples. I think this is example 3. Okay, so function or not. Let's go from a good old table. And we'll do 2. All right. So once again, if we're determining whether it's a function or not, we are only worried about what the x is doing. Don't even look at the y. Okay, so you're going to look at the x. Okay, now I determine if it repeats. So I've got -1. I skimmed the rest of my values. It does not. I don't have another one. -3. I don't have any other -3s. -5. No other -5s. -7. I don't have any other -7s. So yes is a function because every x only has one y. Over here, I highlight my x values. I only care about my x. Okay, look at -8. It doesn't repeat. 0 does not repeat. 8 does repeat. So I'm going to box in both my 8s. Okay, so now what this is saying is 8 is hanging out with 2 on Monday. And then 8 goes and hangs out with 4 on Tuesday. No. Not a function. Okay? They could also show us 4 from a set of ordered pairs. So function. Sorry, I don't know why I did a line. Losing it. Okay, here's another one down here. All right. So once again, when we're determining whether it's a function or not, we're only worried about the x values. So I'm going to highlight the x values only. Okay, so now I go ahead and I look. Does 3 repeat? No. Does -4 repeat? Yes. So I box them in. So this is saying -4 is hanging out with 8 on Tuesday. On Friday, -4 is hanging out with 6. No. Not a function. All right, now let's go down here. Same thing. I highlight my x values. Okay, I go through. Does -1 repeat? No. Does -4 repeat? No. Does -3 repeat? No. Does 4 repeat? No. So yes, it is a function. Everybody was hanging out with a different person, so we're good to go. Yes, it is a function. The last thing is the vertical line test. And this is how the vertical line test works. I want you to go ahead and take a couple little graphs. You don't need to do little notches or anything crazy. All right. Okay. Those are your, here, maybe let's do one more like this. Okay. The vertical line test. Vertical is up and down. This is what you're going to do. Okay. I'm going to pretend that this is my, and I'm going to start here. I'm going to pretend that that colorful rainbow is my pencil. Okay. So what you do is you take your pencil, okay, and you lay it flat up and down vertically. It passes, so it is a function if it passes the test, which means only 1 point at a time. And I'll show you what that means or what that looks like. All right, so if I'm going here, it hits my graph right there. Now I move it. It hits my graph only right there. I move it. It hits my graph only right there. I move it. It hits my graph and I'm only looking at the red right there. So yes, it only hit at one time. Yes is a function. Let's go over here. Oops. I want to grab my pencil. Okay, here's my pencil. I line it up vertically. This time it hits here and here at the same time. If I move it, oops. If I move it, it hits here and here at the same time. So this does not, so no, not a function. Let's go over to this one. It hits here, only right here. Move it. Here, it hits right here. Here, it hits right there. There, it only hits there, and so on. So once again, every single time I was doing this, it only hit in one place at a time. So yes, it is a function. All right, last one. I go down here. It hits here and here at the same time. Move it. It hits here and here at the same time. So no, not a function. Okay, so that's what you're doing. Here's your practice problems. I want you to determine whether it is a function or not. Sorry, I've got to go turn my phone off. Okay, so determine whether it is a function or not, and give the domain and range. All right, so number 1. -2, 0, -4, 1, 3, 0, 8, 1. All right, let's make that 8, 4. Okay, so you're giving me the domain, the range, and then yes or no for a function. That's what you're doing on all of them, okay? Here's number 2. Okay, number 3. All right, and then these are going to tell me yes or no using the vertical line test. I got to hurry. I'm running out of time. Ah. Okay, have those ready for tomorrow.